Deep in the world's most remote jungles and swamps, trained scientists and indigenous peoples continue to report encounters with massive reptilian creatures that match the anatomy of dinosaurs. Animals that science insists vanished from Earth 66 million years ago. From the Congo Basin to the Pacific Islands of Papua New Guinea, witnesses describe long-necked giants emerging from murky waters, winged reptiles glowing with bioluminescent light as they soar through tropical nights, and bipedal predators stalking through Amazon rainforests with razor-sharp claws and glowing red eyes. These aren't the ramblings of confused tourists or attention-seeking hoaxers. University-trained biologists have led expeditions into Central America's most dangerous swamplands, returning with detailed reports of creatures they believed to be surviving sauropods. Government officials have documented encounters with flying reptiles whose anatomical features precisely match pterosaur fossils, despite witnesses having no knowledge of paleontology. Even fresh, unfossilized dinosaur bones have been discovered in regions where they shouldn't exist, according to conventional science. What makes these reports truly unsettling is their remarkable consistency across continents and centuries. Indigenous artwork from Papua New Guinea contains carvings that appear to document pterosaur anatomy with startling accuracy, while Native American petroglyphs depict creatures that look suspiciously like known dinosaur species. Physical evidence has a disturbing habit of disappearing from official records just before scientific verification, leaving behind only witness testimonies and haunting questions about what might still be lurking in Earth's most unexplored corners. I'm Darren Marlar, and this is Weird Darkness. Welcome, Weirdos! Here you'll find stories of the paranormal, supernatural, legends, lore, the strange and bizarre, crime, conspiracy, mysterious, macabre, unsolved, and unexplained. Coming up in this episode, from Soviet cosmonauts encountering mysterious beings in space to the endless loop of government UFO promises that never materialize, the truth about extraterrestrial contact may be hidden behind a conspiracy of silence that spans decades. 16 witnesses watched in horror as Peter Williamson vanished in a flash of lightning during a 1974 barbecue, only to reappear 3 days later wearing someone else's clothes and carrying items from a tailor shop that had burned down decades earlier. But first, in the most remote corners of Earth, witnesses from trained scientists to indigenous tribes report encountering creatures with long necks, leathery wings, and razor-sharp claws, living animals that perfectly match dinosaurs supposedly extinct for 66 million years. Could there be any truth behind these sightings? We begin there. Now, bolt your doors, lock your windows, turn off your lights, and come with me into the Weird Darkness. I spent 3 weeks in the Congo's Lugaula swamps, documenting tribal accounts of Mokele Mbembe. My waterproof notebook bulged with stories. Villagers taken in moonless nights, canoes found splintered along remote riverbanks, the creature's territorial roars echoing across the water at dawn. The Bantu elders spoke in hushed tones about the one who stops the flow of rivers, describing a massive plant-eater with smooth gray skin and a neck like a python. I had dismissed most of it as folklore, until that morning at Lake Tele. I was adjusting my camera settings, hoping to capture footage of the morning mist, when something broke the surface 50 yards out. At first, just ripples. Then a broad, dark back emerged, water streaming off hide that looked almost reptilian. My hands trembled as I raised the camera, heart hammering against my ribs. The head appeared next, small, almost delicate, perched on a neck that kept rising from the waters like some impossible periscope. The creature turned toward shore, and I found myself staring into eyes that seemed ancient beyond measure, intelligent, aware. The thing was massive, easily the size of an elephant, but wrong in every conceivable way. It moved with fluid grace through the shallow water, each step deliberate and predatory despite the tribal claims that it only ate plants. The long tail swept behind it, and I could see the powerful muscles beneath the gray skin. This was no folklore. This was real, and it was looking directly at me. My scientific training screamed at me to keep filming, to document this impossible discovery. But when the creature took its first thunderous step onto the muddy shore, every instinct inherited from a million years of human evolution kicked in simultaneously. I ran. The camera tumbled from my hands, crashing against a fallen log as I crashed through the undergrowth. Behind me came a sound like a freight train, not aggressive, just vast. Tree branches snapped. The ground shook with each footfall. The notebook flew from my pocket as I vaulted over a rotting trunk, pages of carefully recorded testimonies scattering like frightened birds. I didn't stop running until my legs burned and my legs gave out miles from the lake. When I finally looked back, gasping and shaking, there was only silence. The Bantu guides found me hours later, curled against a mahogany tree and babbling about dragons. They nodded knowingly when I described what I'd seen. They had been telling me the truth all along. But when we returned to search for my equipment, we found only scattered pages and fragments of expensive camera equipment. The creature had taken back its secrets, just as it had been doing for centuries. For over a century, explorers venturing into the world's most remote corners have returned with impossible tales. Deep in African swamps, high above Pacific islands, and within South American jungles, witnesses claim to have encountered creatures that science says vanished 66 million years ago. These aren't just random stories from confused travelers. They are detailed accounts from trained scientists, government officials, and indigenous peoples who have lived in these regions for generations. The reports share striking similarities despite coming from completely different parts of the world. Witnesses describe massive reptiles with long necks, leathery wings, or armored backs. Some walk on two legs like ancient predators, while others glide through water like prehistoric marine giants. The descriptions often match dinosaurs and other extinct creatures with startling accuracy, even when the witnesses have never seen museum displays or scientific illustrations. In the dense rainforests of Central Africa, the most persistent report centers on a creature called Mokele Mbembe. The name transfers to one who stops the flow of rivers in the local Lingala language. For centuries, Bantu peoples have described encounters with a massive plant-eating animal that lives in remote swamps and river systems. The creature reportedly measures between the size of an elephant and hippopotamus, with smooth, brownish-gray skin. Witnesses consistently describe a long, flexible neck topped by a small head containing a single tooth or horn. Most accounts mention a powerful tail similar to an alligator's. The animal supposedly feeds on specific vegetation and fruit growing along riverbanks, emerging from the water during daylight hours to browse. What makes these reports particularly intriguing is their consistency across vast distances and different tribes. From the Congo Basin to the Sangha and Ikalemba rivers, indigenous peoples tell nearly identical stories. They claim hippos and crocodiles flee when Mokele Mbembe appears, and that the creature is extremely territorial, attacking any canoe that ventures too close to its domain. Strangely, witnesses say the bodies of human victims are never eaten. The creature apparently kills to defend its territory, not for food. German captor Freiherr von Steins zu Loznitz first brought these accounts to international attention in 1913 during a colonial survey. His official report described a creature feared throughout multiple river regions, matching descriptions that would not look out of place in a paleontology textbook about sauropod dinosaurs. The Mokele Mbembe reports gained serious scientific attention when Dr. Roy Mackal, a biologist from the University of Chicago, led multiple expeditions into the Congo during the 1980s. Despite the harsh conditions and genuine dangers of the remote swamplands, Mackal and his team gathered numerous witness accounts and physical evidence of large, unknown animals in the region. The most compelling scientific testimony came from biologist Marcelin Agnagna, who reported a direct sighting at Lake Tele on May 1, 1983. Agnagna, a trained scientist working for the Congolese government, observed what he described as a living creature matching all traditional descriptions of Mokele Mbembe. The animal had a wide back, long neck, and small head. Its front portion appeared brown while its back looked black. Agnagna estimated the visible portion above water at approximately 16 feet long. It can be said with certainty that the animal we saw was Mokele Mbembe, that it was quite alive, and furthermore that it is known to many inhabitants of the Likuwala region, Agnagna reported in his official statement. Similar expeditions have documented other unknown species in the same regions. Scientists have confirmed the existence of previously unknown giant turtles, monkey-eating birds, and unusual crocodile species in the Likuwala swamps. These discoveries lend credibility to claims that the remote Congo Basin still harbors large animals unknown to science. Thousands of miles away in the Pacific, the islands of Papua New Guinea generate their own collection of impossible sightings. Local peoples describe encounters with creatures they call rupen, duwa, or orangbati, flying reptiles that emerge from mountain caves after dark. These accounts describe animals with membranous wings like bats, bodies covered in short hair, mouths full of teeth, and distinct crests on their heads. Most witnesses mention long, rigid tails ending in diamond-shaped flanges. The creatures reportedly glow with a bioluminescent light that can appear red, blue, green, or yellow as they fly from mountainous hideouts to coastal reefs. The ropen apparently feeds on fish, squid, and giant clams, though some accounts describe attacks on humans and incidents of grave robbing. This disturbing behavior has led many villagers to cover graves with rocks or concrete as protection. What makes these reports particularly fascinating is how well witness descriptions match paleontological evidence about pterosaurs. Native accounts describe tails that are stiff and unable to bend except at the base, exactly matching fossil evidence showing that rhamphorhynchoid pterosaurs had interlocked vertebra, creating rigid tails that functioned as rudders during flight. The bioluminescent aspect of these sightings finds support in historical records. In 1619, the scholar Athanasius Kircher wrote about observing a shining dragon near Mount Pilatus that moved through the air, scattering sparks like iron struck in a forge. This sparkler effect closely matches modern descriptions of the ropen's bioluminescent display. Some researchers argue that evidence for these creatures has been hiding in plain sight within indigenous artwork. The Siasmi Tami feast bowls of Papua New Guinea feature carved reliefs that traditionally represent known animals from the region. However, careful analysis reveals some figures don't match any modern species. These wooden bowls, carved from single pieces of Quila hardwood, serve as ceremonial items and family heirlooms passed down through generations. Most depict easily recognizable local animals, but certain bowls contain carved figures with anatomical features that closely match pterosaur skeletal structure. One bowl examined by researchers shows creatures with clawed feet positioned exactly where paleontologists believe pterosaur knees rested relative to wing membranes. The carvings display triangular projections where pterosaur tailbones would attach, wing membranes that smoothly transition to body attachment points, and head crests proportioned similarly to known pterosaur fossils. The accuracy is remarkable, considering that local carvers had no access to paleontological knowledge when creating these traditional designs. The bowls typically represent animals the artists have observed firsthand, suggesting these particular carvings might document actual encounters with unknown flying reptiles. Reports of impossible creatures aren't limited to remote tropical regions. North America has generated its own collection of pterosaur sightings, particularly in southern states like Texas and North Carolina. These accounts often come from educated witnesses including teachers, business professionals, and government workers. In Texas during 1976, 3 elementary school teachers in San Antonio all reported seeing the same large bat-winged creature. A business pilot flying over New York's Hudson River Valley in 1961 claimed his aircraft was buzzed by what he could only describe as a pterodactyl-type animal. More recently, a 20-year-old veterinary student named Cynthia Lee reported multiple sightings around Raleigh, North Carolina. Lee described creatures with diamond-shaped tail bulbs, weird crests, and dark brown coloration, features matching pterosaur anatomy. Her drawings and descriptions were detailed enough to catch the attention of researchers studying modern pterosaur reports. A driver on Interstate 540 near Raleigh reported encountering a huge bird-like thing with bat-like wings and a long tail ending in a spade shape. The creature flew directly across the highway approximately 25 feet in front of his vehicle and only 7 or 8 feet off the ground. The Amazon rainforest had produced its own collection of dinosaur-like encounter reports spanning over a century. These accounts often describe bipedal reptiles with features matching known theropod dinosaur anatomy. In 1921, a Brazilian native named Alvaro reported encountering a cow-sized animal with green skin, 2 legs, tiny arms, glowing red eyes, and long claws while exploring near a swampy lake. The creature walked upright and displayed behavior unlike any known rainforest animal. Alvaro, who had lived in the region his entire life, attempted to shoot the creature but missed, and it escaped into the forest. A Swedish naturalist documented this account in 1966, noting the precise anatomical details that matched no known species. The description of a large bipedal predator with small arms and powerful claws closely resembles several theropod dinosaur groups. Another significant report appeared in Scientific American during the late 1800s, describing hunters in Bolivia who encountered and killed a massive unknown animal. The creature reportedly measured 12 meters long, with a dog-like head, short legs, long neck, and armor plating on its throat, belly, and legs. Government officials allegedly sent the body to experts for examination, though like many such specimens, it subsequently disappeared from official records. In 1907, explorers Franz Hermann Schmidt and Captain Rudolf Fleng reported tracking massive footprints near a remote Peruvian lake. The following day, they observed what they described as a monster emerging from bushes over 10 feet tall. The animal had a thick, snake-like neck, small, dull eyes, massive shoulders spanning 10 feet across, and what appeared to be clawed flippers. Despite multiple gunshots, the creature seemed unharmed and eventually plunged into the lake. The witness estimated its total length at 35 feet. Their description matches anatomical features of Spinosaurus, a semi-aquatic dinosaur that wasn't scientifically described until 1912 and wasn't well known to the public until the 1990s. Many of these encounter reports share a troubling pattern. Physical evidence frequently disappears before independent scientific verification. Government officials, museum curators, and academic institutions have repeatedly taken possession of specimens, photographs, or documentation only for these materials to vanish from official records. The Bolivian specimen examined by scientists in the 1800s simply disappeared, despite being officially documented. Countless photographs of alleged pterosaurs and other creatures have been confiscated or lost. Even detailed drawings and measurements taken by trained explorers often fail to survive in institutional archives. This pattern raises questions about whether evidence is being deliberately suppressed or simply lost through bureaucratic mismanagement. Some researchers suggest that governments or scientific institutions might actively hide evidence to prevent treasure hunters from devastating remote ecosystems in search of living fossils. What makes these reports difficult to dismiss is their remarkable consistency across time, geography, and cultural backgrounds. Witnesses separated by continents and decades describe creatures with nearly identical anatomical features. Details about behavior, habitat preferences, and physical characteristics align closely with paleontological knowledge about extinct species. Many witnesses had no access to dinosaur imagery or scientific literature when they made their reports. Indigenous peoples describing creatures in the 1800s couldn't have been influenced by museum displays or popular media that didn't exist yet. Explorers in remote regions often lacked any reference materials about prehistoric animals. Yet their descriptions frequently match fossil evidence with startling accuracy. Details about pterosaur tail rigidity, sauropod neck flexibility, and theropod claw structures appear in witness accounts from people who had never seen paleontological reconstructions. Perhaps the most intriguing evidence comes from the discoveries of unfossilized dinosaur bones in regions where they shouldn't exist according to conventional dating. In 1987, an Inuit hunter working with scientists in Canada's Arctic discovered a fresh, unfossilized bone identified as part of a duck-billed dinosaur's lower jaw. Similar discoveries in Alaska involved dinosaur bones so fresh that the original discoverer initially thought they came from recently deceased bison. Laboratory analysis confirmed they belonged to horned dinosaurs, duck-billed dinosaurs, and small carnivorous species. Bones don't remain fresh for millions of years, suggesting these animals died relatively recently in geological terms. These discoveries challenge conventional understanding about dinosaur extinction timelines. If some species survived longer than previously believed, it becomes more plausible that isolated populations might have persisted into historical times or even the present day. Native American petroglyphs and artwork contain numerous depictions of creatures that closely resemble known dinosaur species. These images appear throughout North America, created by peoples who had no knowledge of paleontology or fossil reconstruction. Thunderbird legends describe massive flying creatures with wingspans capable of creating storms and stealing whales from the ocean. Archaeological sites contain artistic representations of animals that match pterosaur anatomy more closely than any known bird species. The Dakota Sioux specifically described creatures called Wakinian that created thunder with their wing beats and tore clouds to bring rain. They pointed to collapsed river bluffs as evidence of where these giant reptiles had battled water monsters called Unktehi. Similar artwork appears worldwide. The Sarush of ancient Babylon was depicted alongside known animals like lions and aurochs, suggesting it was considered equally real. Its anatomy matches that of an iguanodon more closely than any mythological creature. Hungarian royal seals incorporate dragon imagery based on a creature reportedly killed in local swamps during 1035. Contemporary researchers face enormous obstacles when investigating these reports. Remote locations often require expensive expeditions through dangerous territory. Political instability in regions like Central Africa makes systematic research nearly impossible. Many alleged sighting locations remain virtually inaccessible to outside investigators. Even when expeditions reach target areas, the creatures themselves appear to be extremely rare and elusive. Witnesses consistently describe animals that avoid human contact and inhabit the most inaccessible parts of already remote regions. brief glimpses from considerable distances are typical, making detailed observation or photography extremely difficult. The scientific community's general skepticism also creates funding challenges for serious research. Most academic institutions won't support expeditions based on cryptozoological reports, leaving investigation to private researchers with limited resources. Despite decades of investigation, the question of whether dinosaurs or other prehistoric creatures might survive in remote regions remains unsolved. The absence of definitive proof doesn't necessarily disprove the possibility, especially given the vast areas of unexplored wilderness that still exist on Earth. Recent discoveries continue to demonstrate how much science still doesn't know about life on Earth. New species are discovered regularly, including large mammals previously unknown to science. If relatively common animals can remain hidden from scientific observation, it's theoretically possible that rare, elusive species might do the same. The deep ocean trenches, Amazon interior, Congo Basin, and other remote regions contain millions of square miles that have never been systematically surveyed. These areas could theoretically harbor small populations of unusual animals that have managed to avoid scientific detection. Whether these creatures represent surviving prehistoric species, unknown modern animals, or simply misidentified known species remains one of the most intriguing unsolved mysteries in natural history. The consistency and detail of witness reports, combined with occasional physical evidence, ensure that this question will continue to captivate researchers and the public alike. Up next, for over a century, humanity has been trapped in an endless cycle of UFO disclosure promises that never deliver, while strange encounters in space and altered states of consciousness hint at a reality far more complex than anyone imagines. What is keeping our leaders from sharing the truth? For more than 100 years, people have been waiting for the government to tell the truth about UFOs. Each time someone promises big revelations are coming, nothing really happens. The cycle repeats over and over again, leaving people wondering if they will ever learn the real truth. In 2001, Dr. Stephen Greer brought together hundreds of military workers and air traffic controllers at the National Press Club. These people said they had seen UFOs and the government was hiding advanced technology. Everyone thought this would change everything. But nothing happened. No secret files were released. No new policies were made. 16 years later, in 2017, Lou Elizondo came forward. He used to work for the Pentagon and revealed a secret program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. He also showed footage of something called the Tic Tac UAP, a craft that moved in ways that seemed impossible. The military said the video was real, which made headlines around the world. But once again, the story faded away without any deeper secrets being revealed. In 2023, David Grush testified before Congress. He claimed the government had crashed alien spacecraft and even non-human bodies. People watched in fascination, but he could not provide hard evidence. His testimony left everyone with more questions than answers. This same pattern goes back decades. In 1947, something crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. The military first said it was a flying disc, then quickly changed their story to say it was just a weather balloon. In 1965, witnesses in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania saw a metallic, acorn-shaped object fall from the sky. The military took it away, but officials said it was only a meteor. In 1976, Iranian fighter jets chased a glowing object that jammed their electronics. The incident was so strange that the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency called it outstanding in their report. Yet, like all the others, this case was eventually forgotten. Every supposed breakthrough seems to repeat old claims. The tic-tac object that moved without visible propulsion was similar to stories told in the 1980s by Bob Lazar. He said he worked on alien spacecraft at Area 51. Books like The Day After Roswell, written in 1997 by Colonel Philip Corso, already talked about anti-gravity technology and crashed alien vehicles. These same ideas appeared again in David Grush's 2023 testimony. But no real proof ever emerges. Governments confirm that strange sightings happened, but they never admit to having recovered alien craft or making contact with aliens. If something big is supposed to happen in 2027, as some rumors suggest, why does NASA act like they're just starting to study UFOs? Why do Congress and the Pentagon act surprised by these reports instead of being prepared? The 1980 Rendlesham Forest incident in England has been called Britain's Roswell. U.S. Air Force personnel documented a UFO landing in the forest, but the UK Ministry of Defense said it was not important. If 2027 only brings more acknowledgments without real evidence, the endless cycle will continue. Some researchers believe a hidden group controls advanced technology that is centuries ahead of what the public knows about. This breakaway civilization might include military leaders, intelligence agents, or even people working with aliens. They could have gravity-powered aircraft, while regular people still use chemical rockets. They might have unlimited energy sources, while the rest of the world burns fossil fuels. A leaked document called the Wilson Memo from 2002 suggests that Admiral Thomas Wilson was denied access to UFO programs controlled by private aerospace companies. If this is true, then a shadow group thrives on secrecy. They slowly release new technology to maintain control while keeping humanity one step behind. Think about the differences people see today. NASA celebrates SpaceX's reusable rockets, but insiders whisper about silent anti-gravity aircraft being tested in secret programs. Artificial intelligence and quantum computing advance rapidly, but only within corporate and military facilities. If this secret group exists, their power depends on keeping humanity from advancing too quickly. Whether they are protecting people or imprisoning them remains unclear. A caring group might hide dangerous technology to prevent chaos. Free energy could be turned into weapons, and alien contact might destroy society's foundations. But this assumes that ignorance is safer than knowledge. If they wanted to help humanity, why not share fusion power to end energy wars? Why not give people better transportation technology to explore space? Instead, energy companies tighten their control, transportation barely improves, and healthcare companies profit from treating sickness rather than preventing it. Their actions, silencing whistleblowers and burying leaked information, suggest they want control, not to help people. Navigating this confusing situation requires careful thinking. Government UFO officials must follow strict rules and can only share small amounts of information. Corporate disclosure groups mix advocacy with profit motives. Whistleblowers inspire people but often lack solid proof. David Grush's claims were compelling but relied mostly on what other people told him. Independent researchers may be more trustworthy. These people study suppressed patents, like the Navy's 2019 filings for inertial mass reduction devices, or investigate strange cases, like the 1976 Tehran incident. The people who are being censored, not the ones being celebrated, might hold the real answers. If 2027 passes without major revelations, the endless loop will continue. But giving up is not the only option. Forcing disclosure requires amplifying leaked information, like how the Wilson Memo spread underground, and protecting whistleblowers who risk everything to speak out. Independent scientists working outside institutional gatekeepers could try to recreate suppressed technology. Open-source energy projects already hint at this possibility. Decentralizing innovation, bypassing corporate and military control, might weaken the breakaway group's monopoly. The stakes could not be higher. A world with free energy could eliminate poverty. Advanced propulsion could change humanity's place in the universe. But if people remain passive, 2077 will sound just like 2027. New whistleblowers making the same promises with no real change. While the disclosure debate continues on Earth, some of the most bizarre UFO encounters allegedly happened in space itself. On June 18, 1981, Soviet officials held an extraordinary meeting that included cosmonauts, ufologists, and military personnel. General Georgy Bergovoy, head of the Soviet space program, moderated the meeting alongside cosmonaut Vladimir Kovalyonok. During this meeting, the cosmonauts revealed that their space station, Salyut 6, had contact with an unknown spacecraft for 4 days in May 1981. This mysterious vehicle orbited alongside their station about 400 kilometers above Earth. The unknown craft was described as spherical and only half the size of the 16-meter-long Salyut 6 station. According to the cosmonauts' detailed account, the unidentified spacecraft had no visible solar panels or other protrusions that normal spacecraft need to generate power. The encounter allegedly began on May 14, 1981, near the end of the Russian cosmonauts' extended mission. At the meeting, officials showed an impressive film made by the Soviet cosmonauts during their contact with the unknown craft. The film was shot through one of the Salyut 6's windows, sometimes showing the mysterious spacecraft as close as 40 meters away. The two astronauts, Kovalyonok and Viktor Savanik, were working on scientific experiments after 75 days in space when Kovalyonok noticed a spherical object suddenly appear about 1,000 meters away. The cosmonauts observed that the ship had 24 windows, 8 around the middle and 8 on each half. Its surface had no marks, solar panels, or antennas. Through the windows, they could see what looked like a normal cockpit in the well-lit interior. The strange object stayed there for 24 hours while Kovalyonok filmed 45 minutes of the encounter. He had no explanation for what was happening. On the second day, the astronauts woke up to find the unidentified spacecraft much closer, less than 100 meters away. According to the cosmonauts, it had moved without using jets, thrust, or any other visible means. Even up close, its smooth, silvery surface showed no signs of propulsion. Through the windows, they could see beings wearing light helmets that looked like tight hoods, with their faces partially covered by transparent visors. 3/4 of their faces were visible. They had long, thick eyebrows and straight noses, but what impressed the cosmonauts most were their eyes. Enormous, blue, twice the size of human eyes that stared without showing any emotion. As the beings seemed friendly and willing to communicate, Kovalyonok asked Earth for permission to make contact. Mission Control allowed them to try exchanging visual messages, but when asked about physical contact, they responded with a firm no. The cosmonauts felt comfortable with the stranger's very human-like behavior. Their ship changed position frequently and easily, sometimes coming as close as 30 meters from the Soviet station. The astronauts could see the stranger's movements, which seemed human but very rigid and mechanical. The cosmonauts then held up a large star map near their window, showing our solar system in the center. Kovalyonok was amazed when one of the beings pulled out their own map. On one side was our solar system, and on the other side were different stars marked. There was no doubt they had accurate navigation maps and knew exactly where they were in the galaxy. Kovalyonok gave a thumbs-up signal, and the strange being did the same without smiling. Then their ship moved away at very high speed. On the next orbit, it came back. It moved away 6 times total, never for any clear reason. Using a powerful flashlight, Kovalyonok tried to communicate in Morse code, first in Russian, sending the message, "Soviet cosmonauts greet visitors to Earth." The beings did not understand. He then tried English. "Are you receiving us?" No response. Finally, he tried mathematics, using short light flashes for 0 and long ones for 1, signaling the number 101101. Soon after, a light signal came back. The message was not just a repetition, but appeared to be a logarithm based on Kovalyonok's cipher. On the next day, the beings allegedly left their spacecraft and walked through space. They were about 2 meters tall and wore the same diving suit-like clothing with light, wide visors. The visitors moved as if they had invisible seats and walkways. The cosmonauts could not detect any life support systems in their suits, even when the visitors came very close to the station. Ground control refused to let the cosmonauts leave their station. On the 4th day, the spacecraft disappeared. According to the report, Kovalyonok and Savanik had become used to these strange, silent, emotionless beings. Despite how important such an event would be if confirmed as true, the report received very little attention. Even the magazine that published it did not make much of a fuss afterward, leaving the episode completely obscured. This story seems highly improbable at first glance. However, some researchers wonder if the UFO phenomenon often appears to match the era in which it occurs. In the past, people reported old-fashioned UFOs, while today, witnesses describe mysterious silver spheres or drone-like objects. Could this space encounter have followed a similar pattern, with the cosmonauts' minds interpreting what they saw through the lens of their time and technology? As scientists study both UFO encounters and altered states of consciousness, strange connections have emerged. N-dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, is a powerful psychedelic that produces vivid, otherworldly experiences, often described as journeys into other dimensions. The experiences of people who have used DMT often sound remarkably similar to stories told by people who claim encounters with aliens. Dr. Rick Strassman conducted groundbreaking research on DMT during the 1990s at the University of New Mexico. He injected volunteers with DMT and recorded their experiences. Many subjects reported strikingly similar visions of otherworldly beings, entities described as intelligent, sometimes friendly, and occasionally threatening. These beings were often described as insect-like creatures, ethereal beings of light and humanoid figures that defied easy description. The similarity between DMT experiences and alien encounter reports is striking. In both cases, people often describe being transported to another dimension, meeting intelligent entities who communicate without speaking, and feeling a profound sense of purpose or revelation mixed with intense fear or awe. While skeptics say these experiences come from the brain's imagination under the influence of drugs, others suggest they could hint at a deeper reality that science has not yet explored. In 2021, the U.S. government released a highly anticipated report on UAPs, confirming that military personnel have witnessed aerial objects with capabilities far beyond known human technology. What remains unexplained is the nature and origin of these objects. Dr. John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist, spent years interviewing people who claimed alien abductions. His work revealed that these encounters often led to profound psychological changes, including heightened awareness of environmental issues and spiritual growth. Some of his subjects described scenarios that closely resembled the visions reported by Dr. Strassman's DMT volunteers. This raises a puzzling question. Could UAP and alien encounters exist not as physical events, but as interactions occurring in an altered state of consciousness? Researchers like Dr. David Luke at the University of Greenwich have explored this possibility. Luke's work examines the overlap between psychedelic experiences and reports of alien contact, suggesting that both phenomena might arise from accessing a shared, non-physical dimension. Some researchers propose that DMT may act as a key to unlocking alternate dimensions of reality, a concept that finds support in modern physics. String theory suggests the existence of multiple dimensions beyond our three-dimensional world. Could DMT temporarily dissolve the barriers separating these dimensions, allowing glimpses of otherworldly landscapes and beings? Dr. Andrew Gallimore, a computational neurobiologist, has proposed a detailed model for how DMT might function as a reality switch. He suggests that DMT allows the brain to interface with a hyperdimensional reality, and that the beings encountered in DMT states may be autonomous entities inhabiting these dimensions, rather than mere projections of the mind. This perspective aligns with the work of Jacques Vallée, a French computer scientist and UFO researcher who has long argued that UFO phenomena may be better understood as manifestations of a control system operating outside conventional understanding of space and time. Vallée's theories suggest that these phenomena could involve interactions with an intelligence that transcends physical reality, an idea strikingly similar to the DMT hypothesis. The potential connection between DMT, alien encounters, and UAP challenges traditional frameworks of science and spirituality. If these phenomena are linked, they could offer unprecedented insights into the nature of consciousness and reality itself. However, barriers remain. Psychedelics like DMT are still controlled substances in many countries, limiting their study. Similarly, the stigma surrounding UFO research often pushes it to the fringes of academia. Whether through government disclosure, independent research, or scientific breakthroughs in consciousness studies, the search for answers continues. The experiences reported by cosmonauts, abductees, and psychedelic users may all be pieces of a larger puzzle that humanity has yet to solve. Until then, the questions remain as mysterious as the phenomena themselves. If you'd like to dive into the subject a bit more, especially the possibility of these experiences not being extraterrestrial but extra-dimensional, I'd highly recommend the book Rungs of Disclosure, Following the Trail of Extraterrestrials and the End Times by L.A. Marzulli. I had the privilege of narrating this book, and it really made me think about what I believe about UFOs and aliens. You can find the audiobook version at WeirdDarkness.com. Coming up, when lightning struck Peter Williamson at a backyard barbecue in 1974, he didn't just disappear for 3 days. He returned with mysterious belongings that seemed to prove he had somehow slipped into a parallel universe. On a warm summer day in 1974, Peter Williamson stood in his backyard in Somerset, England, hosting a barbecue for his family and friends. Dark clouds gathered overhead as a thunderstorm approached. When the first drops of rain began to fall, his wife Mary and their children hurried to the covered patio with their guests. Peter remained outside for just a moment longer. Then lightning struck. 16 people watched from the safety of the patio as a brilliant flash of light engulfed Peter's silhouette. When their vision cleared, he was gone. Not knocked down, not injured, completely vanished. Mary Williamson called the police immediately. Officers arrived and began searching the enclosed yard, but they found no trace of Peter anywhere. The backyard was surrounded by high walls on all sides. The only way out was through a gate that remained locked, and Mary had kept the key with her the entire time. There was nowhere Peter could have gone, yet he was nowhere to be found. The police interviewed all 16 witnesses. Each person told the same impossible story. They had seen Peter standing in the yard when lightning struck, and then he was simply not there anymore. For 3 days, search teams combed the area. They found nothing. On the third day, Peter Williamson reappeared in his own backyard. His family discovered him standing in the same spot where he had vanished, looking confused and lost. They rushed to embrace him, but quickly noticed something very strange. Despite 2 solid days of rain, Peter's clothes were completely dry. Even stranger, he was wearing pants that no one recognized. Green corduroy trousers that definitely did not belong to him. Mary and the children took Peter to the hospital right away. Doctors examined him thoroughly and found that he was not hurt in any way. However, Peter could not remember anything about the barbecue, the lightning strike, or where he had been for the past 60 hours. The doctors said he had amnesia, likely caused by the lightning. The police accepted this explanation and closed their investigation, though they never explained the mysterious pants. A few days after returning home, Peter began having vivid dreams and strange visions while he was awake. Slowly, fragmented memories started coming back to him. He remembered being found unconscious on the side of a road by a kind doctor. He recalled staying in a hospital that he had never seen before. Most clearly, he remembered meeting another patient at this hospital who had given him the green corduroy pants because Peter's own clothes had been torn and ruined. Peter decided to examine the pants more closely. Inside, he found a label that read Herbert Fox, which appeared to be the name of a tailor shop. The initials JB were sewn into the fabric. In the pockets, Peter discovered a pack of senior service cigarettes with a logo that looked slightly different from any he had seen before. There was also a silk handkerchief with the same JB initials embroidered on it. Convinced these items held clues about his missing time, Peter traveled to the town where Herbert Fox's tailor shop was supposed to be located. Local residents confirmed that Herbert Fox had indeed been a tailor in their town. However, they delivered shocking news. The shop had burned down more than 20 years earlier in the early 1950s. Peter returned home more confused than ever. How could he be wearing brand new pants from a shop that had been destroyed decades ago? Around this time, a writer and investigator named Colin Parsons became interested in Peter's story. Parsons was fascinated by the possibility that Peter might have somehow slipped into an alternate reality. He interviewed Peter, Mary, and many of the witnesses who had seen the disappearance. Parsons also conducted his own research into the mysterious clues. His investigation revealed remarkable information. The initials JB belonged to a man named John Blackwood, who had been a regular customer of Herbert Fox's tailor shop. In Peter's world, John Blackwood had died in a mining accident in 1953, yet the pants Peter was wearing were clearly new, suggesting that somewhere John Blackwood was still alive and Herbert Fox's shop was still in business. Parsons arranged for the pants to be examined by experts from the manufacturer. They confirmed that the zipper design dated to 1968, 14 years after Herbert Fox's shop had supposedly burned down. The stitching matched the techniques used by Herbert Fox's workers. The material was definitely new, and the shade of green was unlike any the company had produced in Peter's reality. As the weeks passed, Peter's memories of the alternate hospital became more detailed and vivid. He could describe the layout of the building, the sounds and smells, and even the names of nurses and doctors who had cared for him. He particularly remembered a doctor named Dr. Nent. 1 month after his return, Peter learned from a friend that there was indeed a Dr. Nent working at a small hospital less than a mile from Peter's home. Peter had lived in the area for years but had never known this hospital even existed. Excited and hopeful that he might finally get answers, Peter drove to the hospital. Everything about the building felt familiar to him. The hallways, the rooms, even the smell, it all matched his memories perfectly. Peter asked to speak with Dr. Nent, explaining that he believed the doctor had treated him during his missing time. Dr. Nent did not recognize Peter at all. The doctor stated that he had not treated any amnesia patients in over 5 years. Despite Peter's detailed knowledge of the hospital layout and staff, Dr. Nent suggested that Peter's mind had simply created false memories, perhaps from overhearing conversations or seeing the building in passing. When Peter asked to see admissions records from the nights he claimed to have been there, the hospital found no record of him ever being a patient. Colin Parsons remained convinced that Peter had indeed traveled to an alternate reality during his disappearance. For Parsons, the most compelling evidence was the pack of cigarettes. The senior service logo on the pack was slightly different from the standard design available in 1974. Creating such a detailed fake would have been extremely difficult at that time, suggesting that the cigarettes truly came from a parallel world where small details differed from Peter's reality. The story of Peter Williamson has become a frequent topic of discussion among scientists studying quantum physics and the concept of multiple universes. Modern scientific theories, including the many worlds interpretation and the many interacting worlds theory, suggest that parallel universes could exist and might even interact with each other under certain conditions. While scientists have not found direct proof that multiple universes exist, these theories help explain some puzzling behaviors observed in quantum physics experiments. For example, particles can seem to influence each other instantly across vast distances, which some scientists believe might involve interactions between parallel realities. Google's advanced quantum computer called Project Willow has achieved calculations that would take regular computers an impossibly long time to complete. The company has suggested that such powerful quantum computing might only be possible if the calculations are somehow taking place across multiple parallel universes simultaneously. However, the Peter Williamson story faces significant challenges when it comes to verification. While the tale has been widely discussed in paranormal and scientific circles, researchers have been unable to find primary sources to confirm the basic facts of the case. No newspaper records from Somerset to 1974 mention Peter Williamson's disappearance. Police departments have no reports of the incident on file. Census records do not show Peter or Mary Williamson living in the Somerset area during that time period. Claims that the story received national news coverage have not been substantiated with actual news reports or broadcasts. Additionally, information about Colin Parsons himself is limited. While he appears to have written puzzle books, there is little documentation of his work as a journalist or paranormal investigator outside of this single case. The scientific concepts underlying the story, the many worlds interpretation, quantum physics, and the potential for lightning to affect quantum systems are all legitimate areas of ongoing scientific research. Lightning does possess enough energy to disrupt quantum processes, and some scientists continue to explore whether such disruptions might theoretically allow for interactions between parallel realities. Werner Heisenberg, one of the founders of quantum physics, once observed that the universe operates on principles that may be stranger than humans can currently understand or imagine. Whether Peter Williamson's experience represents a genuine glimpse into the mysterious nature of reality or simply an elaborate tale that captures our fascination with the unknown remains an open question that continues to intrigue both scientists and storytellers alike. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please share it with someone you know who loves the paranormal or strange stories, true crime, monsters, or unsolved mysteries like you do. All stories used in Weird Darkness are purported to be true unless stated otherwise, and you can find links to the authors, stories, and sources I used in the episode description. Weird Darkness is a registered trademark. Copyright Weird Darkness. And now that we're coming out of the dark, I'll leave you with a little light. Proverbs 14 verse 23, "All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty." And a final thought, say the truth and shame the devil. Hugh Latimer. I'm Darren Marlar. Thanks for joining me in the Weird Darkness. Hi, I'm Darren Marlar, host of the Weird Darkness podcast. I'd like to talk to you about something that's very near and dear to my heart – my career. We've had a great run with Weird Darkness, and this October we'll celebrate 10 years doing this show. 10 years. We've had great reviews, a great response from amazing listeners like you, but unfortunately now we're not as well known as we could be. What that means is that I won't be able to win meaningless and irrelevant podcast awards. I won't be able to humble brag on newly acquired accolades and magazine article interviews. I won't reach 1 million subscribers. And who wants to live in a world like that? Did you know that for the price of a single bag of Weird Dark Roast coffee in a Weird Darkness mug, or the price of clothing yourself with a Weird Darkness t-shirt or hoodie, that you can help me buy 0.01% of an ad on Google? It's true, and it's just that easy. Share the podcast. Get involved. Your small act of sharing with only 10, 20, or even 50,000 friends and loved ones can bring this podcast to literally tens of people. Isn't that what's most important in this world? Get involved. Share the podcast with others. Use your social media, email, and text to promote each and every episode I release. Further the cause. Help Weird Darkness reach more listeners. And help make me less obscure. Thank you. Hey, is that good? Yeah, I tried to fake sounding sincere as best I could. I don't think this is going to work, though.